Kyle Larson just started talking about the end. Not the end of a race, not the end of a season, the end of his career. And he did it at the worst possible moment. Because right now, Larson is stuck in the roughest stretch he has ever had at Hendrick Motorsports. No wins all season, not a single one. So, when a two-time champion starts putting a number on his own future, everybody in the garage listens. Here is exactly what he said. And here is why it changes how we look at the rest of his career. Larson has a milestone. It is not a trophy. It is not a race. It is not a record. It is an age. 40. That is the point where he plans to stop, sit down, and take a hard look at everything he is doing. In his own words, I started saying this last year, but 40 is my next milestone. I want to get there and then evaluate if I want to keep going or be done. It all depends on where my kids are in their lives and interests. Now read that last line one more time. He did not say he will retire at 40. He said he will decide at 40, and those are two completely different things. Most drivers pick a date and count down to it. They tell everybody the plan and then they stick to it. Larson did not do that. He picked a checkpoint instead. He gets there, he looks around at his life, and then he chooses. That is a smarter way to do it. It also makes it much harder for fans to guess what happens next. So, what actually makes the call? Not the trophies, not the money, not the point standings, not even the team. His family. Kyle and his wife Caitlin have 3 children, Owen, Audrey, and Cooper. And here is the detail that makes this whole story make sense. Owen and Audrey already race. They are competing in youth racing events right now, and Cooper is getting close to the age where he can start too. So picture the next few years. Larson will not just be a Cup Series driver. He will be a race dad with 3 kids running 3 separate schedules. That changes the math on everything. Larson made it very clear. Their schedules and their interests come first. Because of that, he is not adding more races to his own calendar. No extra events. No stacking on more nights. He is holding steady right where he is. Stop and think about how big that is. This is the guy who once raced almost every single night of the week. The guy who would fly across the country to run a dirt race between Cup weekends. That guy is now protecting his open weekends. For his kids. Now, here is a piece a lot of fans are skipping over. Back in February, Larson signed a 5-year contract extension with Hendrick Motorsports. That deal keeps him in the number 5 car through the 2031 season. Now do the math on that. His contract runs out right around the same time he says he wants to sit down and evaluate his future. The timeline matches almost perfectly. That is not luck. That is a plan. Rick Hendrick locked down his biggest star, and Larson locked in a clear runway that carries him all the way to the milestone he set for himself. Nobody has to guess about the next several years. Those years are already spoken for. The real question mark starts after that. But this next part is the real shocker. For years, there was a theory floating around the sport. The theory went like this. Larson would eventually leave full-time Cup racing before he turned 40, and he would do it to chase a full-time sprint car championship on dirt. That was not just a rumor. Larson hinted at it himself in the past. Well, that idea is dead now. He said it straight out. As far as competing for a sprint car championship, I would say right now in 2026 that I have changed my mind on that. I feel like I have accomplished a lot since I made those comments. I've been able to win 3 Knoxville Nationals, 3 Chili Bowls, and a King's Royal. Look at that list one more time. 3 Knoxville Nationals, 3 Chili Bowls, a King's Royal. Those are the crown jewels of dirt racing, the events every dirt driver dreams about their whole life. Larson has already won all of them, and he has won most of them more than once. So what would a season-long points title actually add to that? Larson answered that himself. He said, I just don't know what a championship would add to my career, so I'm just not into the idea now. And like I said, I think my kids are going to be busy doing their own racing by that time. So do I really want to commit to an 80 to 90 race schedule? That's way busier than I am now. 80 to 90 races in one single year. That is what chasing a full-time dirt title really looks like. It means living in a hauler. It means sleeping in different towns every night. It means being gone almost every week of the year. And it would mean missing his own kids racing. He is not willing to make that trade. Not now. Now here is the shadow sitting over this entire story. Larson won his second Cup Series championship in 2025. Then the wins just stopped. Through the early and middle part of the 2026 season, he has not been to victory lane one time. By late July, he had gone more than 45 races since his last win. That win came at Kansas Speedway. Back in May of 2025. More than 45 races. That is the longest winless stretch of his entire career at Hendrick Motorsports. For an average driver, that is just a slow year. For a two-time champion sitting in some of the best equipment in the sport, it is a much bigger deal. And that is why this retirement talk landed so hard. It came out while the wins were missing. But listen to how he is actually handling it. Larson and crew chief Cliff Daniels have kept bringing home solid finishes. They are locked in on performance. They are not obsessing over the win column. And Larson sounds calm, almost content. I just feel like I have a really good balance in my schedule this year, and I'm enjoying that. But you never know, and 6 or 7 years down the road, things might change. That last sentence is the important one. 6 or 7 years down the road, he knows plans shift. He knows kids grow up and pick their own paths. He knows he might feel completely different when he actually gets to that checkpoint. So he is not promising anything to anybody. He is leaving the door wide open. Put every piece together. 26 Cup Series wins with Hendrick Motorsports, 2 Cup Series championships, 3 Knoxville Nationals, 3 Chili Bowls, a King's Royal. That is one of the strongest resumes in all of motorsports, and he built the whole thing fast. So when Larson talks about age 40, he is not talking like a driver running out of speed. He is not talking like a man worn down by a losing season. He is talking like someone who already got what he came for, and now he wants to see what his kids do next. The sprint car chase is off the table. The contract runs through 2031. The winless streak is real, but it has not rattled him one bit. And the biggest decision of Kyle Larson's entire career is not going to be made in a race shop. It is not going to be made in a boardroom. It is not going to be made on a track. It is going to be made at home. And that is what makes this so different from every other retirement story in this sport. There is no farewell tour, there is no countdown clock, there is no press conference with a date on the wall. Larson is still in the prime of his career, still in the best equipment on the grid, and still under contract for years. He just told everybody exactly how the ending will be written, and then handed the pen to 3 kids who are barely old enough to reach the pedals. The wins will come back. They always do for a driver this talented. But the clock he is really watching has nothing to do with lap times. It has to do with how fast his kids grow up. And that is a race nobody can slow down.